Graduating around the height of COVID was a really challenging situation. I applied for a lot of jobs, but I didn't hear back from any of them. So as a fresh grad who didn't have a lot of work experience, this left me quite disheartened and stressed about my future.
We're living in a very exciting time, but also a very challenging time. Digitalization has been there for a long time. COVID and this pandemic has just accelerated it.
I was a network security engineer for 15 years before suddenly being retrenched. My family is worried naturally because I was never out of job for all this while. But I told them not to be worried. I told myself this is a very good time to upgrade myself.
We are leaning forward together with the Singaporeans to put in place programs like the Google Skills Ignition program to ensure that they have a fruitful career in the entire economy.
When I first started the Skills Ignition program, I was really excited. It was a really unique opportunity because it allowed me to get professional certification from leading experts. On top of that, I would get on-the-job experience going into Google and working with some of the top minds in the industry. I had amazingly supportive mentors and teammates who encouraged me to learn and grow.
I went into the 6-month vocational training with zero knowledge of cloud technology. I find it a bit challenging in the initial phase, but as the course went by, it gets very interesting. My classmates comes from very diverse backgrounds, and I was actually chosen to be the team leader for one of the groups itself.
The Google Skills Ignition Singapore program is a very strategic partnership between Google and the Singapore government for us to structure training around emergent skills in cloud computing, digital marketing. It provides structured, in-depth training from a globally leading company like Google, and we are seeing companies from the ecosystem leaning forward to recruit some of the graduates from the program, and we hope to see that more in the future.
It kind of surprised me that I'm able to graduate in my 40s. It's totally something unexpected. The course has definitely opened new doors to me. I don't feel scared anymore about learning new technologies.
After completing the program at Google, I was very fortunate to land a job. I would tell anyone who's, just starting their career, don't be afraid if it's something you're not familiar with. At the end of the day, you will have definitely learned something important about yourself from it that you can take forward moving on.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. I'm thrilled and grateful that the Deputy Prime Minister, Heng Swee Keat, has been able to join us here at Google this morning. I'm very grateful to all of our partners of Skills Ignition SG that are joining us online. Now, Skills Ignition SG was something that we began early in COVID in 2020 as a response to the disruption that Singaporeans were finding in the economy. It was a way of bringing digital skills and capability to Singaporeans through Google and through a number of different partners. Now, we all recognize that the global economy is evolving, the nature of work is changing, and the pandemic has only accelerated that process. And so we need to address that today. But this is also complementary to Singapore's long-term ambitions around Smart Nation. Independent research from a company called Alpha Beta suggests that the digital economy could contribute around $65 billion to Singapore by the end of the decade. And actually, I think that forecast is going to prove a little bit too low. We'll see. And talking of forecasts that were too low, our initial ambition for Skills Ignition SG was that we would have 3,000 people enroll within the program. And that's a target that we've already beaten. So we've increased our target to 3,800. I feel fairly confident that we're going to make that too. And what we're also seeing is hundreds of those graduates go into work placements in Google and other employers around Singapore, putting to work that learning around digital marketing and cloud computing in particular. Now, those that have been through that teaching, 92% of them are coming out of the program and feeling much more confident about building their careers in the digital space. But we want to go broader in terms of topics. We want to go deeper in terms of the engagement that we can create in Singapore. So today, we're really thrilled to be able to announce Google Career Certificates are going to become under the umbrella of the skills program. And these certificates actually are going to be an important contributor to further increasing the confidence and the capability of Singaporeans. Google Career Certificates are programs developed by Googlers, experts within Google, that users can engage with without actually any prior experience, without any higher education, and engage with actually at their own pace. And in the first instance, we're going to focus in 4 areas: IT support, project management, data analytics, and user experience design. And why those 4? Well, if you look in Singapore today, there are job openings available in these 4 key areas that outnumber the number of people that are actually qualified to take open those positions. So graduates of the Google Career Certificates will find immediately the skills that they have learned are directly applicable to open roles within the economy. Take the example of someone like Daniel Singh. Daniel was 15 years an HR executive, but called often to provide his colleagues IT support. And this was really where his passion lay. So at night, he engaged with Google Career Certificates, got himself qualified, and now he's leading complex end-to-end projects for a local medium-sized business here in Singapore. And then actually at the weekend, he's in his local community center, passing on that knowledge to seniors and younger people coming through. We want to create more Daniels and more opportunities for people like Daniel. And so as part of the launch today, we're also going to announce that we're providing 5,000 scholarships for Google Career Certificates to forthcoming students into the program. And consistent with the Skills Ignition SG ethos around partnership is going to be important here too. And so these Google Career Certificates are going to be delivered in partnership with polytechnics, institutes of technical education, social security agencies, and self-help groups around Singapore. Skills Ignition SG is a program that we've been proud to be a part of. It's only taken place actually because of a broad suite of partnerships in the private sector around Singapore, but also thanks to the participation and leadership of the Singapore government. As I say, we're proud to be part of it. We're pleased with the results so far, and we think that it's going to continue to contribute both in the short term as we manage through the disruption of COVID, but in the longer term too, as Singapore strengthens its own digital economy. So thank you to all. With that, let me hand over to the DPM to say a few words.
Thank you, Scott. I'm very happy to be here this morning to join you. To join all of you, ladies and gentlemen, online. Now, particularly significant is the launch of the Google Career Certificates in Singapore. This is a very meaningful initiative. The launch is most timely as COVID-19 has accelerated the pace of digital transformation in Singapore and globally. The digital revolution was already gaining pace even before COVID-19. When the pandemic struck, the movement of people was curtailed to contain the spread of the virus. Many around the world pivoted from physical to digital activities. By now, many of us are adept at telecommuting, video conferences, e-learning, and online shopping. Businesses have also adapted by offering their services and wares online. The shift to digital is here to stay and will continue to gain momentum. In fact, the internet economy in Southeast Asia is projected to double by 2025. And as Scott mentioned earlier, Singapore's digital economy will grow significantly. So how do we respond to a more digital world? As an economy, we'll need to redouble our transformation efforts to ride on the new wave of opportunities that the digital economy has to offer. We have a head start as we embarked on economic transformation more than 5 years ago. In fact, digitalization is a key pillar of all our industry transformation maps, or ITMs. And we are currently refreshing our strategies to better respond to the accelerated shift to digital and other trends. We also need to intensify efforts to upskill our workers. Some industries and occupations will be disrupted by digitalization, but new sectors, new jobs will emerge. I believe that in the longer run, advancements in technology will create more and better jobs for our workers. As businesses accelerate their digitalization efforts, we must provide our workers with a strong digital foundation so that they can take on upgraded roles within their companies. At the same time, we are supporting those who are able and willing to take on jobs in the Infocom and tech sector. Through the Tech Skills Accelerator Program, or TESA, tech companies and IMDA have come together to help over 110,000 Singaporeans develop digital skills. The TESA program has also enabled more than 10,000 Singaporeans to find good jobs in the tech sector. In the next bound of TESA, we'll continue to build a strong core of local tech talent with a greater focus on emerging skills in areas such as artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and blockchain. Google has been a key partner in our efforts to help workers develop digital skills that are in demand. Under TESA, Google launched the Skills Ignition SG program in 2020 with support from government agencies. This program is on track to equip 3,800 Singaporeans with in-demand digital skills through vocational and on-the-job training. Melissa Tan is one of them. Melissa had worked in Southeast Asia and the Middle East for the past decade. Prior to joining the program, she was in the travel and tourism sector. When COVID-19 disrupted the tourism sector, Melissa took the opportunity to explore the tech industry by signing up for Skills Ignition SG in October 2020. After graduating from the program, she has joined Google as a full-time accelerated growth strategist. Melissa's experience shows that there are many opportunities in the tech space available to meet career entrants, as long as we are open to venturing out of our comfort zone. Encouraged by the response to Skills Ignition SG and the outcomes of those who took part, Google has decided to further expand the program, as you heard from Scott earlier. I'm happy to launch the Google Career Certificates in Singapore today. This is the new pathway under the Skills Ignition SG program. Google will also be offering 5,000 scholarships to complement this new initiative. The Google Career Certificates offer online training programs in the areas of IT support, project management, data analytics, and user experience design, which workers can access in their own time and at their own pace. And as you heard from Scott earlier, these are areas of high demand. Through this initiative, interested learners will now have an additional avenue to develop new skills while working or studying. Google will also be offering 5,000 scholarships in partnership with our polytechnics, ITE, self-help groups, and social service agencies. The scholarships will fully cover the Coursera course fees for the Google Career Certificates. This will provide more inclusive access to the program. I'm also happy to hear that Google plans to form an employer consortium to recognize these career certificates for recruitment and employee professional development. Google is a good example of how our companies can contribute to economic transformation. It does not invest narrowly in its own needs, nor does it operate alone. Instead, Google contributes as part of a wider consortium to support transformation, innovation, and human capital development across industries. This will in turn benefit companies and workers in the longer term. This spirit of collaboration and contributing to the greater good is a critical ingredient for our future success. Be it through TESA and Skills Ignition SG, our Alliances for Action, or other initiatives, I hope collaboration will come to embody all sectors as we work towards ITM 2025. By industry, government, and unions and workers working together, Singapore has a key competitive advantage as we seek to grow as a global node for startups and technology. Today, a number of tech companies such as Google, Facebook, Alibaba, and Grab already have a presence in Singapore. Despite the pandemic, many have continued to grow their operations here in the past year. Our startup scene is relatively nascent but thriving. Last year, 10 out of the 21 unicorns that emerged in Southeast Asia were based in Singapore. In the first 9 months of 2021 alone, Singapore-based startups raised more than $11 billion. We're committed to making Singapore an even more vibrant global node of technology and innovation. We do so by enhancing our physical and digital connectivity to the world through initiatives such as the Digital Economy Partnership Agreement. We continue to invest significantly in R&D under the Research, Innovation and Enterprise 2025 plan, of which Smart Nation and the digital economy are key focus areas. We are redoubling our efforts to nurture startups and create a more conducive innovation ecosystem. As importantly, we continue to welcome global companies like Google to deepen and grow their presence in Singapore. Companies such as Google constantly push the frontiers of innovation and contribute to our vibrant enterprise and tech ecosystem. The Google team in Singapore has expanded from a team of just 24 employees back in 2007 to one that is more than 2,000 strong today. I'm happy to note that Google's Next Billion Users team in Singapore has been building products to serve the fast evolving needs of the region. The team was instrumental in the development and launch of the new Google Pay experience. Singapore was the first country in Southeast Asia and second country in the world to enjoy this. This deep understanding of the market was what enabled you to innovate and create useful localized solutions around the world. For example, upon seeing the impact of the pandemic on Singapore's F&B sector, the team built and launched the menu discovery feature on Google Pay in less than 3 weeks. This helped improve discoverability, pickup, and delivery options for over 200 F&B merchants in Singapore. The team also developed products that will improve digital inclusion and accessibility, such as Android Go for low memory devices and offline Google Maps for locations with weak internet connectivity. Google's investments and innovations are exciting, and I hope that more global tech companies and startups will likewise be part of Singapore's vibrant tech and innovation ecosystem to explore opportunities in the region and beyond. Let me conclude. We live in a world that is increasingly more digital. We will need to redouble our industry transformation and digitalization efforts and upskill our workers to take on new opportunities in this more digital world. The way we go about this must be a collective one, with the private, public, and people sectors working closely together, with each of us contributing to the greater good. A vibrant and thriving economy will in turn benefit all of us in the longer term. The Skills Ignition SG program is a good example of what it means to take a collective approach. The launch of the Google Career Certificates will create a new pathway for our workers to join the tech sector. I'm excited for our learners and encourage them to seek out opportunities in the growing tech sector. I also look forward to the continued support from Google and your partners to develop our workforce. This way, we grow and succeed together, and we build a vibrant and thriving economy that will benefit everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DPM. So please come to the cross here. We'll do two things to commemorate the launch. We'll take a photo first. Three. Okay.
Thank you so much, Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Heng Swee Keat. We're so honored to have you with us today. Hello and welcome. My name is Kai. I'm a UX lead and art director at Google Singapore, and I'm the host of today's show. We're going to play a fun game called The User is Right to get a feel for life as a UX designer or user experience designer, one of the 4 career pathways that Google Career Certs could unlock for you. We'll pose a few UX design questions, problems. Our audience and contestants will try to guess the majority of these answers. Join in through Slido and be part of the game by navigating through the link below or scanning the QR code on your screen. If you join in, you have stand a better chance of winning a prize at the end of today's show. First, let's meet our very, very cool contestants who have joined us today and also find out what's up for grabs. On my left, our first contestant is Rachel Lim, co-founder of Love Bonito. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Kai. Thank you for having me. And hi, good afternoon, DPM Heng. I'm really excited to come today to hopefully win this from my contestants.
Okay, let's see. Very competitive. Up next, we have Fauziz Aziz, content creator with The Smart Local. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Hi, I'm Fauzi from The Smart Local. I'm going to show everyone why I am at The Smart Local.
Okay, fierce. Last but not least, we have Zoe Tan, a freelance content creator with more than a decade worth of online content creation. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kai, for introduction. Very excited to be here today at Google for Skills Ignition Singapore. Thank you for having me.
Very nice. And today's winner will get a UX design sprint board game that was made and designed specifically for today's event to immerse you in the exciting challenges that lie ahead in this career of user experience. If you have not joined in through Slido, please do so now, those who are joining us online. If you participate in the game show and fill out the survey at the end of today's event, you also stand a chance of winning a limited edition board game for UX design. Here's a reminder of today's rules. Our viewers at home will input their answers on Slido, and our contestants here will guess the most popular answer. If they guess correctly, they will earn a star. So they have a star, 5 stars on the table at most. If they guess correctly, they will earn a star. The contestants with the most star at the end of today's session will win. So pretty straightforward, very easy, very fun. Not going to take too long. Okay, we're going to wait for a few minutes for everyone to join us. So find the link, scan the QR, join us on slido.com. Okay, do you get the cue to get started? All right, first question. Let's get it going. First question. All right, and you can see the diagram in front. If you're tasked to improve the power off button on a phone, which one do you think works better? So we have two options here, A and B. Contestants, you can hold up your A and B signs. You can choose between the toggle or the on and off
button
switch.
and
Yeah, so which one do you think to improve the power off button on a phone?
Oh, wow. We have an
Okay.
alternative answer.
All right. Two A's, Rachel and Fauzi. A.
yeah.
Zoe with the B. Zoe, any reason why you want to go
I
against
feel
the B?
like this sign is a very universally understood symbol. And this
Okay.
is something like my 83-year-old grandmother will understand. So for the first one, if you're going to choose a toggle, probably have to adapt to the language of the country.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Sounds good. It's always good to be.
Fauzi, don't change. You want to
No,
change your
I
mind
don't
now?
want to change my answer. I don't want to change my answer. I want to stick with my answer only because, right, I feel like it's a larger button for people who are a little bit more challenged. Like me, for example, I'll say it's easier to kind of like, see the button and know what to do. Whereas the symbol in B, it's kind of just like a universal button. You
Right,
must
right.
press and hold maybe. So those seem confusing to me. Although I must say B would have a smaller design footprint, which might be a
Right,
bad
right.
or good thing.
Well, you're both
Let's
thinking
find out.
about accessibility, which
Yeah.
is good.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a look at the answer,
I'm
which is
scared.
the voted answers.
Wow! Very close, bro.
Yeah, very close.
Wait, I just saw it move a little bit again. Okay.
Oh,
Wait, but
yes.
isn't B existing
B,
already?
right?
No, wait, still moving. This is where I pitch you my answer is the right answer.
Is it still moving?
Yeah, I
No
saw it
lah.
still
You move a
moving.
little bit, a
Wait.
little bit.
Oh my God,
Okay,
you're
no.
moving against us.
It is.
Okay. So the point goes to Zoe.
Zoe.
Yay.
Oh my God,
Well
Fauzi,
done,
we
well
need to back
done.
up.
Okay, catch
Yeah,
up,
get
guys.
up.
Okay, next.
Next question.
Oh,
An action.
An action button should prompt users. If you are going to design an upload button for a social media app for pets, which would you choose? So the two options are here. The first one has a little doggy bone because it's for pets. And the second one is a little bit more generic, more universal. So which is your pick? Which do you think our users at home will choose? A or B? Okay. Looks like two
Oh
against
my
one. B, A. All right.
B, please. No, because I think if I'm already in the app, in the social media app for pets, this is B is a very universal sign that we all understand that it's upload photos. My first instinct for A would be, I don't quite understand it. Even in the context of a social media app for pets, it might look like. Actually, I still don't understand. So my answer is still B.
Yeah. It could be upload a bone here.
Yeah, upload some dog food or pet food.
I don't know if that was possible, sure, but I think
But
in
pets are more than just dogs. So, but this
True,
only applies
okay,
to
true,
both
true,
to
true.
dogs. So
I just think it's a cute little element
Correct.
lah, just to kind of tie
It's
in the
cute,
app, right?
yeah.
And people will be like very intrigued with the app,
Yeah.
and then when they see the entire
but if
kind
I'm a
of
cat
like
owner,
design-
but
I'm a cat owner,
okay,
so
then how do you
then
feel?
never mind lah. It's still an adorable little feature, I would say. It's a distinguishing feature that makes it
That's
a little bit
true.
more fun, more
yeah.
different. Yeah.
More branded, right? So it
Mm.
kind of shows you remember it. Okay, shall we see what the majority of our viewers have voted for? So that point goes to Rachel. Well done. Fuzzy, you only
I'm very paise already. Don't call myself the smart local. Right?
the don't have points local.
Don't have points yet.
No
local.
stars
Yeah.
local. All right, third
stars
question.
yet.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
You have to design a dashboard for an online store selling cakes. Which design highlighting your monthly sales would you choose to show this information? So again, between A and B, A having more information and more graphic elements, B has like a larger header over there. Then there's no wrong answers here, but which would you choose between A and B? Okay, so this is the
Ooh.
first time everyone is very aligned.
Okay, this
B.
could be my first star, or like we could all not get any stars.
We shall find out.
So yeah, Fauzi wants to take everyone down with him.
Yes.
All right. Okay, shall we see the score?
Oh my!
Oh, okay, so you're all
Wait, really?
Really?
So-
Why?
This is so interesting because I would say it's very abstract. It looks like a birthday cake, like someone's 25-year-old birthday, right? Does
Yeah,
it
and
not?
it's not like a one glance you know immediately.
Exactly
You kind of have
that.
to look further, check out where the graph is. I thought B was great because
It tells you the information right ahead. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, well,
Interesting.
the users at home or watching virtually they're right. So
okay,
66%.
so no points for us.
No points across. Okay,
I'm gonna end up with 0 stars today.
Okay, you have two more chances. Two more
Okay.
chances. Two more questions before we end today. The fourth question: font choices are critical in
yes.
setting the mood and making text easier to read, or sometimes not easier to read. If we were designing a newsfeed app, which font would you choose for the header? So here you see between A and B, and one is a sans serif font, one is a serif font. So one's a little bit more like your cleaner Arial font. So it looks like our contestants are going for B. And let's see what the users have voted for, or the viewers have voted for. Oh, so that's a star for
Yay!
everybody.
Oh my God.
Your first star.
I'm so proud of myself.
Your first star. Well done.
Yay.
Very nice. And then Rachel and Zoe each have 2 stars now.
Yay.
Very nice. Okay, so the last question now.
Oh, last, okay.
Or the last one. So the winner of this one will win today's game. Where the buttons are placed on the app interface will determine how users interact with their phones. Which layout of this banking app would you choose? So between A and B, A has a bottom navigation bar. Everything's kind of cornered at the bottom, whereas B has like your layout, kind of like you have action buttons all across the screen, you have settings on your top right. So between these two, which do you think you would choose? All right, we have 2 A's, 3 A's.
3.
Okay, everyone is aligned, and the answers that our viewers have gone for is all A.
Yay!
86% A. Very nice. So 3 stars for Rachel and Zoe, 2 stars for Fauzi. So
Yay.
congratulations.
Balik.
He gave himself the
I know, I
minus
wanted to
1
give
star. So with that, we have 2 winners. It's a tie. Thank you so much, everybody. Congratulations, Rachel and Zoe. I would love to invite Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee Keat to come and present our prizes to the 2 winners today. Oh, you're staying here.
Oh.
Rachel.
Please remain here as we invite everyone to stand where they are here in their spots for a group photo. Thank you so much. All right, thank you to our contestants, very cool, and our audience for participating wherever you are. And a special thanks to, of course, to DPM for gracing this event. Very much thank you and appreciate that. Remember to stick around to the end of the show and fill out our questionnaire for a chance to win prizes. Take a walk with me as I join our panelists for a Q&A. Hello, welcome back. So today we're talking about user experience. User experience design is dynamic and ever-changing. There's a huge study and industry around it, many disciplines: visual design, UX research, content strategy. UX designers find themselves wearing different sorts of hats. Today with us, we have 3 highly experienced UX experts to share with us, to answer your questions. Please join us and continue to use Slido to submit your questions, as you see on your screen. And we'll try and get through as many of these questions as possible. All right. Should we wait for the queue for people to join? No? Okay. So let's have everyone here introduce themselves. Maybe we can start with Faith.
All right. Hello. Hello, guys. I'm Faith. I lead the UX practice at Digitus, which is a part of Publicis Group. We are connected marketing agency, and we work on various brands such as Citibank, McDonald's, and Mercedes. So our UX projects cover all things digital, and that includes system platforms, websites, and mobile apps.
Nice. And Faith, can you tell us a little bit about how you first got into the UX industry?
Right. So it's interesting because what I was working before was, in design houses and advertising. So I spent like half of my career there, which is probably about 10 years, where I learned more about, design, which you can think about as, UI, right? So conceptual campaigns, trying to market design to make sure that their audience really is attracted to the campaign is something that I'm very familiar with. But then in between, because in such a big company, right, there will be bound to be upcoming like UX consultancies within it. So that is where I find my chance to transition. And also at the same time, a very steep learning curve of trying to learn and apply into the projects that I work on. And then after that, I actually took that learning and started up my own consultancy. So that was probably 1 or 2 years back. And now I'm part of a bigger group and really excited to do the work here.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing. Up next, James Chu, Senior VP of Design at Lazada. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got into the UX industry.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good morning. So my career started off in graphic and communication design many years back. And back then, the whole digital world was already emerging. I think it was Web 2 at that point in time. So there were advertising starting to thrive. Then came about e-commerce, social media, mobile phones and smartphones and smart apps. And so my journey, I guess, in design has evolved as our digital world evolves. And this has been really interesting to me. And now, I'm honored to be working at Lazada, which is one of the, front-running companies within Southeast Asia in both the commerce front of things, in bringing the various experiences to the consumers in the 6 different markets we operate.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Last but not least, we have Bhavna. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you first got into the UX industry.
Thank you, everyone, and great to be here. Good morning, everyone. So my career in UX is pretty long, actually. I started off my career in advertising, actually as a designer. And, at that time, there was no kind of word called UX. I mean, UX wasn't a formal phrase itself. So my career started in design, interaction design, and I get into web and, all the things digital. And what's really interesting is that, in my career, now, of course, I'm in Google for the last 3.5 years, but I've worked across many different kind of companies. So I started my career in advertising and soon moved to consulting. So I have a lot of experience on client projects, client side. And then after that, actually was leading UX for an agency, before which, after which I joined Google. So I've worked in different kind of, jobs and environments, and that's been really exciting for me in my career.
Nice. It sounds like a few of us have started off in graphic design, ad agency, creative agency, and then kind of moved on with the industry as UX experience or user experience design became more developed as an industry itself. So I'm hearing a lot of similarities there. I've got the first question here, and maybe this one is more directed at Faith and Bhavna. What do you love most about your job? I'm sure this is a question you get a lot, maybe from family, from friends. Maybe Faith, you'd like to go first. What do you love most about your job?
Sure, sure. Yeah, this is an interesting one. And I guess besides the lofty aspirations of producing useful digital products and impacting users' lives in a positive way, right? What I do enjoy is the process of UX. So during the initial project phase, or we call it the problem space, we need to tap on the left brain to understand the problem, perform, meet findings, and interpret things, right? So then in the solution space, I then need to switch to my right brain where I'm allowed to be emotional and intuitive in designing the skinning of the digital product. And both spaces, they do overlap. It's not completely black and white and clear cut, right? But I think it's also because of this that makes it challenging and fun for me. So yeah, UX is about logic and art, and I love that.
Problem solving and challenges. Sounds like an exciting and complicated space, but I'm glad there are a lot of UX folks in UX who love big challenges like that. Bhavna, can you tell us a little bit about what you love about this industry and your job?
For sure. Actually, Faith actually said a lot of things that I actually wanted to say. So plus one to what Faith said. But in addition to that, what's really kind of drives me and makes me, come to work every day is the business impact that is created by UX. So in my role, even at Google, the way I translate, the way success is defined for me is what is the business impact of this UX implementation? What was the business impact of the bottom line? So that is what really, really gets me excited every day because there's such a direct correlation between great user experience and business impact to your bottom line. And the fact that you actually can see that tangibly every single day of your life is what really, really drives me. And this is what makes me, keeps me going actually in this profession.
Nice. So I'm hearing business impact, problem spaces. James, do you have anything to add to this? Do you agree with our other panelists?
Yeah, for sure. I think what's really interesting about UX is it's constantly evolving. So we're faced with new problems in the different kind of projects we work on, the various initiatives, and I'm sure those who are working in the professional services space, you get wide diversity as well to the various interactions you can have with non-profit organizations, for-profit organizations, and each of their problem sets are very different.
Nice. And so with all of this stuff that kind of you love to see in our industry at your job, what kind of advice would you give someone who is new to this industry and new to a career in user experience? Maybe this time, Bhavna, you'd like to start first?
Yeah, definitely. I think mainly I'd say two pieces of advice. The first piece actually is never assume. You are not the user, so try to understand the user. So user research is really, really important. So it's important that you establish the right baseline, what kind of method, and never assume that you are the user because you're not. Somebody else is the user. That's the first piece of advice I feel, which is important. The second one is about practicing your craft. So UX, becoming a great UX designer is all about practicing your craft. So practice your designs, practice your wireframes, practice your storytelling, practice your conversations, practice your interviews. So I mean, that's what I remember I did when I was not a very confident UX designer, is all about just practicing in front of the mirror. Just practice, practice, and practice. I think these are the two pieces of advice I'd give to somebody who is starting out in this field.
Thank you so much, Bhavna. Yeah, I think those are really good advice for someone new. I think a lot of people, especially if they moved in from graphic design or another industry, there'd be a lot of assumptions around how users interact with this space. Faith, would you like to take on this question as well?
Right, sure. I totally agree with Bhavna. And I think on the point about practicing, right, I think that's really important because I remember when I first transitioned to UX, what I didn't account for was the gap between being familiar with the process and actually doing and applying the process. So feeling the humility of starting from the beginning is not something to be afraid of, but we all want to progress, and there's no shortcut to that really. So you can work on pro bono projects or with startups because these companies usually have a limited design budget. But the good thing is they're the decision makers, right? So I think it's good to work with them too. And once you find yourself gaining more confidence and ease of applying UX methods, this is where the magic happens, right? You will have the brain space to take a step back and review your work from other perspectives, right? And usually this helps to trigger a great improvements. So that's one. I think I've got another point to share. It's more about making connections, and do let me elaborate on this one, right? So each organization has a different approach to how they run the UX process. So figuring out how specific or broad you like your involvement to be is actually quite important. So don't hesitate to go to your LinkedIn, reach out to UX individuals, right? Start to strike a conversation and chat about their roles and responsibilities. I think a lot of the folks in the community, they are actually quite helpful, right? And I think the challenge is that for some, taking the initiative to engage strangers, right, can be a bit of a struggle. And I used to be introverted at work. But along the way, this has changed, fortunately. And on hindsight, it is really not as tough once you make that mindset shift.
Right. So being proactive, reaching out on social media, on LinkedIn. So, okay. So we're expecting more messages from LinkedIn after the end of this session. Yeah. All right. And then James, any advice you'd like to give someone who's new?
Yeah, for someone who's new, I think Spanda kind of mentioned you've got to really practice your craft. And that process of really practicing it, I think an additional advice would be finding your own voice and developing your own voice as well. Creating and having a perspective is invaluable in our practice of user experience design, because it's through those exchanges in perspectives, viewpoints, where really we bring in diversity or diversified thinking and inclusive thinking as well. So that would be one point that I would additionally make. Another one that I think would be great advice is really getting practical experience in how design creates impact both for the customer or the user and also the business, and making those connections and being able to really articulate them in a very precise way and also in a connected way will help you navigate, I think, through your UX career as a whole.
Awesome. So lots of tips here from our experts. And it also sounds like we've kind of like referenced back to how the industry has changed. So the next question is, and maybe we can continue with James, is how has UX or the UX industry or the practice changed in the last few years? What do you think?
Yeah, so the space is very, very exciting. It's evolving very quickly. I think I've mentioned earlier on, as my own career has taken shape, it started off with Web 2, digital advertising, and then the advent of like smartphones. Those technical revolutions or digital revolutions really changed the entire space in how users or consumers interact with various products and services. So I think over the last few years as well, with new technologies that are emerging, startups are really thriving in, starting to thrive on top of those trends. For us, UX has really started to shift as well, be it from the Web 2 space to the Web 3 space, and now, with some companies really focusing on what that future could be. So it's a super interesting moment, and I feel it's a pivotal time for new, people starting in their careers and joining this industry for your chance to learn new skills. And even for us who have been in the industry for such a long time, it's also an equal opportunity for us to learn new skills and really change as the times change as well. So it's constantly changing. It's super exciting. And I think now is none better time to join than ever.
Great. Yeah, great answer. Keep learning. I mean, Skills Ignition, SG, shameless plug. Faith, do you have anything else to add about how UX has changed as an industry?
Well, I guess what I actually observe is that clients are getting more and more mature in their thinking when it comes to UX, right? And I think it's a great thing because I remember starting like onboarding them what UX is. We are taking baby steps and a lot of things seems to be logical, but it isn't that innovative. But I feel that everyone has jumped on this bandwagon and I think that it is the time to really push the thinking a little bit more. And I do see UX being a starting point, right? So it could be in the execution of a digital product, but it is deeper than that because you would also be touching on things like service design, right? Because if you are offering a certain service on the app, you have to make sure in the back end it really works and it functions well. And then how do you actually work together with the clients to understand, how can we reach out to those other functions of the business and make it work holistically? And I think that besides of course, what James has mentioned, I think this is something that I'm quite excited about, how to push the boundaries together with the clients.
Nice. That's amazing. You're all the three of you are UX leaders in your space. You're all very senior, very experienced. And there are a lot of people watching today who want to know how to get a job in UX. So this question is about what is the most important thing you look out for when you hire someone for your company or for your team? What is one thing you look out for? Maybe we can start with Bhavna this time.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a very important question, and I think very relevant to the audience who's attending today. So, as you know, somebody who is hiring someone in the UX field, the most important thing personally I look out for is how you think. So, I would like to understand how you dissect a problem, what you make of it, and what is the process in which you came up with a solution. Your thought process is the most important thing that I'd be looking for. And the simple reason behind this is because, these days, all the companies who are successful really have, great design people, design founder-led companies, and companies who do design really well. And basically, business value of design is something which is a norm right now. So I would really like to understand, if I'm hiring somebody, how would you, as a designer, bring in business value to my organization? And for that, the best way to understand is your thought process. That's one thing. The second and very important thing, I think, from my perspective, when I'm hiring somebody, I'd like to understand is, or have a point of view on how this person's at collaboration. Because it's just not about talent. It's not about just thought process. It's about how you collaborate. If you look at the UX field, there are many streams in UX. You actually, as a UXer, you work with, user researchers, interaction designers, you have coders, agile specialists, scrum masters, works of marketing, etc., works of people, right? So, and UX is not a discipline which can succeed without another. So it's very important for me as someone to understand how good are you at working with other people and collaborating together to develop a, winning product, service, or whatever we are trying to create. So these are the two things I would look out for.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think collaboration goes a long way, and especially our industry with so many different kinds of different collaborators that we have to work with, project managers, product managers, UX research, the list goes on, especially in big tech companies as well, where there's so many people and so many teams. Viv, can you also answer this question on what are some of the things you look out for, or are they very similar with Bhavna's reply?
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with Bhavna. I think, all points ticked. I probably just want to touch on a little bit more on growth mindset. While it's expected that as a new designer, you won't know all the things, right? But it's how you handle your lack of knowledge that makes a difference. So with that, having the growth mindset, right? I think that would actually cover things like being comfortable with ambiguity. So that's one. You'll be asking yourself, how am I comfortable with, how comfortable I am with assignments that are less defined, right? And how comfortable am I voicing an unpopular opinion, right? So another example is being growth oriented. So do you see mistakes as a natural part of learning? And do you attribute your design skills to innate talent, or is it all about hard work, right? And how do you view others? Do you see their behavior set in stone, or actually that can be changed, right? So I think, growth mindset is a very rich topic, and I do encourage everyone to do some reading on that, right? Because I think that will help you to think of yourself or change yourself to be someone like that. And for me, why that's important, because at the end of the day, we have to function as a team. And to maintain a well-oiled engine, right? Every designer's attitude and thinking should empower, motivate, and elevate one another. It shouldn't be, pulling the team down. Yeah.
So we're hearing thought process, growth mindset, and collaboration. James, anything to add to this list of incredible, points?
Yeah, some great points raised already. I'll come in with a practical one. I think many of us who work at really, large organizations or who are focused on the job already, a practical tip that I would give is first impressions count, and how you present your CV or your portfolio really makes a difference. Because many of us who look at some, who look at many CVs, in fact, have to find almost like the diamonds in the rough, so to speak. And it's really hard. So you want to be presenting yourself in the right way, highlighting some of the great points that has been already raised. And that's something that you should look to either present in your CV and also in portfolio case studies as well.
Right. So first impressions, reaching out to people, being proactive, and putting together and setting a good standard when you first apply for a job or look out for other hiring teams. Let's see if we have more questions from the audience before we move on. One question we're getting is, how does one or a candidate get into UX or the UX industry without having a UX portfolio or background? Maybe we can start with Faith.
Right. So I think I can use myself as an example, like, how I introduce myself as someone who came from advertising and design. And I think if you are someone with no UX background, no portfolio, but I should be getting vibes of you actually have some design background. So it could be interior design, it could be, same thing, advertising, or even branding. So as long as I see that, and I probably will also give like an aptitude test or even an assignment for you to work on, and then I make a decision from there. But just to be clear about, when we hire, we always have many candidates to choose from. So if you do not actually have a connection, some kind of connection, or showing your attitude in some ways, right, it may be a bit difficult to get into a past second round. So I would still feel very highly encouraged you to still work on the portfolio.
Right. So if you don't have one, I also suggest, make a practice project, work on a design exercise you find online. Bhavna, is there anything, any other advice here for someone without the UX background?
Yeah, definitely. There's lots you can do, actually. Yes, one important thing, as Faith mentioned, is to get noticed. And for that, I think to get noticed, you need to have a good portfolio. But what I think is really important is to know how to start. So for example, you may not be, you may be just a designer or somebody in a non-UX background, but if you have the interest, firstly, there's a lot of learning and training available online. You can attend a lot of courses. They don't even have to be expensive, and you can make a starting point there. And the second thing is, if you really want to show your craft, there's a lot of pro bono work you can do. And it's never too small to make a start and do something to show the impact, and then take that as a starting point to build a variety of projects. There's nothing stopping you from showing the initiative. And go to community events, contribute there, speak there, take the lead, put yourself out there, and let yourself be questioned. So I personally think that in my career, like, I did not start off as a UXer. I knew that at some point of time I wanted to make a transition to UX. So fortunately, at that point of time, I was already employed. So I just told my employer that, like, I do not wish to do this. I would like to get into UX, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is the kind of trainings I will take. These are the kind of projects I will do, which is in addition to what I already do in my day-to-day job. And over time, I will build myself a profile and a portfolio, which then makes me a potentially great UX candidate. And that's what exactly I encourage people to do if they want to get into this field.
Right. Thank you. James, anything to add on here?
No, I think some great points have been made, so I've got nothing to add here.
Okay, fantastic. Put yourself out there, start applying. If you don't have any UX portfolio, UX pieces, there's a wealth of resources online for you to get started. Next question. What are some of the recommended courses, training to improve skills and knowledge on user experience, data analytics, project management, and IT support? Well, you're looking at, well, this program is one of the many, but I also love to tap into the panelists. Maybe James, maybe you can start us off. Are there any recommended courses you can suggest to our viewers today?
Sure, yeah. I think Newson Norman Group, they have a great section of online courses and knowledge base that is openly available. If you look on Medium as well, there's plenty of articles in terms of thought leaders like the panelists here who share their perspectives, on either the evolution of the industry and the real life practice of how user experience comes to life in these companies. So there's plentiful resources if you just tap into them. And I think there are also some more practical ones where it's not just theory, but putting things into practice, where you can really join either communities, open communities who work on these projects together in either virtual teams or real teams coming together to really get the practical knowledge going and application of the theory into real life. So definitely, yeah, those would be great starting points.
Yeah, getting some virtual experience is as good as it gets. Now that most of us are working from home. Bhavna, anything to add to this?
No, I think I love James' response. I would say the same thing actually. That Nielsen Norman certification really is one of the really great ones which comes to mind. Frankly, there's lots to be certified. You can go and do a course on UX from General Assembly. You can go to IDEO, and they have lots of short courses online. I think you can identify, and Coursera has many courses on UX as well. I think there's like no limits to the number of courses available. The Norman certification I find hugely, I would highly recommend it for people who really want to get into UX. But I think just like how James has already mentioned, knowledge these days is available online. There's plenty of things. There's UX, the amazing UX blogs on Mediums, where you have all these thought leaders. I think that's definitely a very, very good place to go and visit regularly. There's lots of content. You have some of the thought leaders who actually have written books, so you could actually start reading them. I mean, for me, I started my UX career reading books actually, because that time I was like just more comfortable reading books. Whatever works for you, whether it's digital or whether it's traditional, just go out and read and learn. Lots of good resources out there, and definitely do follow the latest UX blogs, because too much innovation is happening and things change in UX on a daily basis. So there's this blog called UX Collectibles. There they have some pretty interesting stuff they publish. Articles are published on the recent trends in UX. Just keep yourself abreast with what's going on there.
Thank you, Bhavna. So we have about 5 minutes left. Shall we maybe take about one more question before we end today's panel discussion? The next question is about career prospects. How wide or how in-depth can we expect some kind of career progression to be like? So I think this viewer is asking about career development and how far into UX career they can look into or dive into the future. Maybe we can start with Faith on this one.
Okay, sure. Well, I guess being a UX designer to start off with, right? You definitely will know all the wireframing, do some UX research, and even the design part. So if you want to really go niche into that, it's already very clear cut, right? So you can go right into research, user research. Of course, you probably need to, embark on another course, like it could be psychology, it could be, HCI, for example, right? To help you get into that. You can also obviously at some point of time when probably you are in like your 40s even, that you try to think about like thinking of yourself as a business person. And I think that could also translate to a role where you're more of an account servicing person, right? Or you basically orchestrate and try to strategize like, what could work from business level, and then after that, you have your team to support you in terms of UX. So that is a possibility. You may also be interested in data, but again, to go right deep into that, you need to equip yourself with extra knowledge. And obviously, when it comes to design, yes, you may start something that is digital, but at some point of time, you may want to transit into spatial design, right? Because it is still about a user flow, how the user engages with the environment and the product, so-called, right? So then maybe that is something that you like to do. So I feel that there is no like a list of things that you cannot do. But I think UX is definitely a module where it can expose you to different kind of interests.
Right, so it's wide enough that there are so many disciplines that you can grow and you can keep learning from in this practice. James, do you agree? Do you have more career suggestions here and how progression looks like?
No, I absolutely agree with what Faith said. There's enough disciplines within user experience design itself to allow you to really dig into the depth of it. But also what's really interesting in the digital industry, so to speak, is through the practice of design as you expose to different functions within businesses as well. There is absolutely nothing stopping you to apply some of your core skill sets into those other areas of, be it strategy, as Faith kind of mentioned, account servicing and the professional services space, or even consultancy. And I think this is really where, as practicing designers these days, you're exposed to so much that's happening around the design space as well, or beyond the design space. And so there is really no limitation to where else you can explore within it.
Awesome. With that, we're running out of time. We'd like to thank everyone for staying with us to the end, and of course, our panelists. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to answer these questions and talking to us. We've come to the end, and we'd love to know what you think about this event, about the program. Do fill up our feedback form. You get a little treat from us. You also stand a chance to win your very own UX design board game. There's a link in the QR code on the screen. We hope to hear from you. Again, thank you so much for being a part of this event today, and I hope to see you. Thank you.